150 years ago today, the moment of Cornell's birth, the state-of-the-art in American exploration was this guy, Charles Francis Hall. This guy was a piece of work. He was not a Cornellian, there were none of those yet, but he was a newspaper publisher in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he somehow got it into his head that he wanted to be an Arctic explorer. Don't know where this came from. He created great amusement among the citizens of Cincinnati when, in order to toughen himself for his future explorations, he pitched a tent on his front lawn in the middle of winter and slept in it for 5 nights in a row to get ready to go north. He had no budget, so the way he embarked on his exploration was he hitched a ride on a whaling ship, and they took him north and they dropped him off, and then he walked. And he walked until he encountered what he called Eskimos, he called them Inuits today, and he went native. He lived in igloos. He ate blubber. And he learned. And he conducted 3 expeditions like this, the second expedition he was on as we speak tonight. That was the state of the art in American exploration on the day that Cornell was founded.
Greetings! How about Steve Squyres? Our story begins with these 2 people who later became my parents. For those of you who are detectives here, I hope you can infer that my father went to Johns Hopkins. And he had, I thought, a great many terrific ideas, but among his greatest ideas, I think, was to try to marry this woman. Her father would not let them get married until she was graduated from college. And this was in 1941. My dad became fascinated with sundials. He would put a shovel handle or shovel in the dirt and observe the shadow of the shovel and wait for the shadow to be the shortest, and they would try to petition their guards, hey, it's kind of lunchtime. And this is totally mythical, but apparently my father made an attempt to reckon their latitude using the length of the shadow and estimating the angle. And the angle would be the same as your latitude. Coincidence? Perhaps. They didn't know how far north or south they were in China. And so a guy was able to escape and catch up with the Allies in the British consulate. And that's when people found out what happened to all these guys from Wake Island. So my dad lived through it. My mother lived through it, although she didn't talk about it. And he came back fascinated with sundials, and this is one of his great inventions, the sand dial, which you can take to the beach. You don't have to get sand in your watch. Dad, that is brilliant! That is fantastic! That name, that's sand dial! Wow! We're going to make dozens of dollars on it. But he took it seriously, and I still have one. That particular sand dial is over 50 years old. And I made a new table, as it's called. The other one got pretty beaten up. And then my dad wrote articles for the Washington, I grew up in Washington, D.C., for the Washington area newspapers. That particular sundial is one where it has the name Nye for north. Are there any professors here besides Professor Squyres? I'm using the laser pointer. Okay. I just want you to know when you do this, it doesn't help anything. It has Nye at north, my sister Susan for south. My brother's first name, which he does not go by, is Edwin, and then William for west. That's brilliant! But that's all fine. But it was when my dad wrote the when my dad wrote the book about sundials. That's when he was given a lifetime membership in the North American Sundial Society. Anybody here? North American Sundial Society? Nope, fine. Okay, how many business majors? Anybody? Accountants? Anybody taking accounting? One guy who admitted it. And you've been to the accountants' parties. You know how crazy it is. They start writing their little Excel sheet macros, footing columns. It's wild, man. But let me tell you, when you are with the sundial people, it is off the hook. Bunch of guys. It's moving. Look, the shadows. By the way, look at this picture. It's a cloudy day. I'm not even looking at anything. These are my people. This will be fantastic. We'll have paths, hour lines on the National Mall. And people will come from all over the world to see what time it is. If you go there right now, you can, it's so tall. How tall? It's so tall, you can walk along with the shadow. It's amazing. Amazing to me. See, what happens in the sundial world is everything that casts a shadow, you know, a flagpole, like a fire hydrant, should be made into a sun. Anything that sticks up should be calibrated. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Apologize, I'm sorry. This building did not exist when I was here. Rhodes Hall was not here when I was an undergraduate. And I would walk by this building quite frequently. And I'm a product of my dad and his timekeeping and all this stuff and the success of this. And I went, hey, dude, we should have a clock. There's no clock right there. So I, as grateful alumnus, took 13 years working with the Cornell administration. Many of you know there's a clock there. Now, many of you probably don't know this clock is, as far as I know, and my astronomical colleagues and my horological colleagues, horology is the study of timekeeping, this is the only one in the world that has this feature. When the sun is highest in the sky, when we say in astronomy, we say when the sun culminates, that's called solar noon. And at solar noon, that feature under the 12 lights up. It lights up with sunlight. So I, as Engineer Bill, wanted to do this as a tribute to my parents, who worked so hard to put me into school, who had all this opportunity to go to school here and get a career as an engineer and then squander that and go on. The idea was to have a slit. This was my first idea, to have a slit. And the sun would come over and it would go through a very narrow skylight. That's the idea. But the skylight would have to be huge to get enough lumens, enough sunlight to that clock. Because it had to work on a cloudy day. And so this is from solar noon today. Now during daylight savings time, solar noon is sort of solar 1 o'clock. So it's 4 minutes after 1 o'clock today, that was lit up.